Well, though the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Sign my petition, yo. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Because actually, Instagram, we gotta work that shit out. They hating on us right now, blocking us out. So we're gonna re-strategize on that front. You see me with the Akuma do on some Street Fighter shit. You know, I'm about to kick ass. About to give y'all some news though in kick ass fashion. You dig me? Now, in the Bahamas, actually, everybody know about the Category 5 Hurricane Dorian that actually ravaged the islands, the Baco and Grand Bahama Islands or whatever. The official authorities over there listed an official 2,500 people that are still missing, even though if the official death toll is at 50 currently. Prime Minister Hubert Minnis and anybody who's just observing knows that number is going to soar. Keep this in mind as the Trump administration here in the U.S. is actually denying temporary protection status to Bahamians, which is extremely cruel. And you know, they're even like separating people at the borders or whatever, as they did Katora Paul, according to the Miami Herald. 12-year-old girl lost her home and all of that, whatever. Now she came here with a godmother at West Palm Beach, Florida, and they got separated with the Department of Health and Human Services. Crazy. Green War and Graduation. We'll go to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. That Instagram shit, we gotta figure that out. We're gonna get back right though, for sure. But it lays out exactly why he should be removed from the platform. He's used it to like spread misinformation, encourage hate and violence towards people. Puts us, U.S. troops, people abroad in danger. Like, come on, the shenanigans gotta stop. He's even fostered this hate toward against immigrants, and that may have led to this Supreme Court decision that the U.S. Supreme Court made, where they basically are allowing for Trump's asylum ban to go through, overturning that injunction that I told y'all about recently, where that California judge basically had an injunction against that ban. So the ban is basically that nobody could come to the U.S. seeking asylum unless they tried to get asylum at the states, in the countries that they passed through. So the only two people who dissented was Sonia Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Green War and Graduation. Although the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Let me tell you something about this immigration system in the United States of America. The Trump administration is actively trying to get rid of the Deferred Medical Action Program, which basically says that if you are an immigrant and are in the country with a serious illness and receiving treatment for it, whatever, they're not just gonna kick you out mid-treatment or kick you to some poorer country that probably can't sustain your life, essentially, medically. So you had two people, Maria Isabel Bueso, a 24-year-old woman who actually was from Guatemala, came at age 7 with a genetic disorder known as MPS, received life-saving treatment in California, and was a part of the first clinical trial for this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's keeping her alive. And then you also had Jonathan Sanchez, a 16-year-old Honduran who actually came here at age 12. His parents brought him here to receive treatment for his cystic fibrosis in Boston. They're saying that the Citizenship and Immigration Services is actually saying they have 33 days to leave. So it's very cruel what's going on to them specifically, assuming their stories are true, because sometimes liars do go and testify at the Congress. Let's be real. But Green War and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So ICE apparently has another body on their hands, according to BuzzFeed News. ICE being Immigration and Customs Enforcement. 37-year-old Mexican man became the 8th person in immigration custody in the United States to actually die. He died at a local hospital after, on September 3rd, being jailed at the McHenry County Adult Correctional Facility in Woodstock, Illinois. So the bodies and the mistreatment seems to be breaking up. There shouldn't be anybody dying, honestly, on these watches, unless people are really just coming here that ill. But it seems to be a pattern. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So the first court hearings actually went underway for immigration court for Trump's so-called Remain in Mexico program, which basically says that you have to wait in Mexico if you're an immigrant seeking asylum. You have to remain in Mexico while your hearings are processed in the United States. So these first went underway just yesterday, as long as this has been going on. It's been going on for some months now, in Laredo, Texas, and in Brownsville, Texas. Now, this was done in tents with video, with using like video teleconferences, telecommunications, and all of that shit, whatever. But there were no cameras or reporters allowed. Typically, immigration court is actually open to the public, but in this case, it was not. So keep in mind that 42,000 people have actually been put in Mexico under this program, where people are worried because the Mexican government is failing to provide humanitarian aid and safety and all of that. People feel like they're at risk of being kidnapped and all of that. So we'll see what happens though. Green Wall and Graduation. Without to do with the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So who started the whole dope pill wave in the United States? Well, a lot of people blame Purdue Pharma, which is owned by the Sackler family, solely by the Sackler family. This is a billionaire family that has is said to be behind the opioid crisis, and as a result, the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma have been sued by a bunch of governments, state and local and tribal governments, and they, as in turn, actually came to a settlement. It's a tentative settlement though, meaning that it's not certain that everybody is agreeing with it, all parties involved, all governments involved, but the settlement is for $3 billion of the Sackler family's money, $1.5 billion off of the sale of a subsidiary of Purdue Pharma. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and then dissolved the company, but only to reform and then go back to pushing these dope pills, namely Oxycontin. So they get to remain billionaires. Mind you, the profits of these companies then have to go to the plaintiffs, but they don't have to admit to any wrongdoing. A lot of people not with that shit. My only thing is, we'll see what happens, but where are they getting the poppy seeds from? You know what I'm saying? Where are they getting the dope from? Keep in mind that Afghanistan is the dope capital of the world. Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So the Food and Drug Administration, pardon me, the FDA is actually poised to remove e-cigarettes from the market. Basically, Trump is trying to ban vaping. You know what I'm saying? Now, keep this in mind as this is happening as the 6th death due to vaping has actually taken place, where somebody died from a mysterious lung disease. So, and it's all being tied to vaping. I know a lot of people. There's people that be watching me that be doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? You might be vaping, or you might think it's cool because you're doing it with weed or whatever, or supposed marijuana. Think about it. You really don't know what the fuck is in that liquid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a chemical. Unless you see somebody literally take it in front of your face, take that THC and extract it, and then make it into that liquid syrup that they put in there that allows you to smoke it, don't do it, yo. Green Wall and Graduation. We'll go to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in Syria, the last rebel-held enclave, the area known as Idlib in the northwestern province of Syria, Turkish officials are actually calling for a ceasefire because they feel like the Russian forces and the Syrian forces are actually at risk of bringing a catastrophe that rivals anything that's been happening for the last 8 years in that internal conflict over there. And keep in mind, they always say this rebel-held and all of that, whatever, but all of this bombing and killing they doing over there, and a lot of civilians end up getting killed, so it's kind of crazy. And that brings me to the next part of this story, where the United Nations actually led an investigation and released a report yesterday that basically says that U.S.-led forces that were actually going in there trying to get ISIS, right? They actually are probably guilty of war crimes, since they've been failing to adequately discriminate between military objectives and civilians. They also found the Syrians and the Russians guilty of forces of being guilty of war crimes as well, since they're just blowing up civilian sites like hospitals, schools, clinics, farmland, markets, and all of that. So shit is getting crazy, man. I hate to be a civilian over there, and you should too. Yo, somebody gotta do something. Green Wall and Grad. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now, I warned y'all earlier this week actually about how in Colombia there's actually the human rights ombudsman out there actually ruled that more than half the country is at risk of violence related to the upcoming elections that they're having, right? So I told you about how Karina Garcia was running for mayor, and she was killed in the Cauca region. 2 other indigenous women activists were killed in the Cauca region. But now, not only was Yunia Moreno killed in the Caquetá region on Sunday, but Hernando Orle Garcia Vasquez, who was also running for mayor, but in the town of Antioquia, he was killed. You know what I'm saying? So motherfuckers up there not playing. Dude was shot 13 times. So somebody is really clinging on to power over there. Green Wall and Graduation. Well, though the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now, Republicans have stooped to an all-time low. Well, it's one of the lowest moments. I think the lowest is probably nominating Trump. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's neither here nor there. In this story, though, in North Carolina, the State House of Representatives actually had voted to override a veto. The wicked shit about it, though, is that they did so while a bunch of lawmakers were out participating in 9/11 memorial sessions. So they snuck and had the vote, ended up voting to override the veto 55-9. Now, what was the veto? The veto was something instituted by Governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, who back in June went against the Republican-drawn state budget, which basically vowed to like underpay teachers, you know, not provide funding, adequate funding for Medicaid and all of that or whatever. So they went about this way, voted 55-9 with 56 lawmakers missing. So Representative Deb Butler, you know, she stood up and, you know, was basically like, no, I will not yield. Like, she was going ham on them in there to where they even like, you know, tried to cut her mic off and there were cops in there and all of that. But this is shameful. Unfortunately, though, the actual state senate actually has to vote as well in order to get the supermajority to overturn the veto. We'll see how this turns out. Green Wall and Grad.